Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Matt Burnett. I'm a program manager with Partners in Project Green. Partners in Project Green is a part of the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority. We're actually a business sustainability and engagement program out of the TRCA's Education and Training Department. And so wanted to welcome you to our GreenBiz Caledon workshop on best practices in waste reduction and diversion. So while we gather here today on a virtual platform, I just wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge the importance of the lands that we each call home. So on the screen here, you'll see that I have the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority's land acknowledgement. The land acknowledgement is really our reflection of our relationship with the land and the First Nations communities that live on it. And so what I have learned about the land acknowledgement process is that it's really meaningful when we acknowledge our own personal relationship with the land. That's where we grew up, where we live, where we work, and that we acknowledge what our intentions are in the work that we're doing here. So for me personally, I grew up in Brampton and in Caledon East, in Peel Region, and I've lived in Toronto and Niagara for several years. I now currently reside in Orangeville, so very close to Caledon, and still have that connection. And so Orangeville is situated on the traditional territories and treaty lands of the Huron-Wendat, the Petun, the Mississaugas of the Credit Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe. And so in thinking about today's event, really wanted to recognize the role that all Indigenous peoples have in passing down the knowledge of their ancestors to protect the environment. So for today's workshop, wanted to express that my intentions today, and I believe many of our intentions, are really to provide a platform for knowledge sharing and learning, as well as identify opportunities for further action on our sustainability goals, particularly on the theme of reducing waste, reusing material, and using materials more sustainably. So I have here a couple of links that I would encourage folks to check out. These are great links and resources to learn a little bit more about your own relationship with the land on which you reside and you work as well, and really get in touch with understanding your own role and in terms of the communities that you're a part of as well. So on some of the maps that are here, there are community maps with the traditional territories that they're situated on as well. So for our GreenBiz workshop today, first wanted to kick things off with a brief overview of our agenda. So we're going to start with a brief introduction to the GreenBiz Caledon initiative. And then we're going to hand it over to our first speaker of today, which I'll introduce shortly, looking at why waste reduction is important, and then how to conduct a waste audit at your facility. We then have a great case study from Husky Technologies talking about waste initiatives at their organizations, which will then be followed by a question and answer period. So in terms of housekeeping, would just once again like to remind everyone to remain muted for the duration of the presentation. And if you do have any questions or comments for myself or for our speakers, please do enter them in through the chat feature. We'll be saving questions that we receive throughout the presentation and then taking them up as part of our discussion period, and look forward to a really engaged discussion at the end of the session as well. So now for an introduction to GreenBiz Caledon. So the GreenBiz Caledon initiative is really a partnership between the town of Caledon and TRCA's Partners in Project Green. It consists of free resources to help businesses with reducing their carbon footprint, greening their operations, as well as saving on their bottom line. The program consists of a resource hub, which I'll talk about in just a moment, as well as an expert-led workshop series, which is part of what we're doing here today. So the goal of GreenBiz is really to provide action-oriented, tangible takeaways and guidance to help businesses, no matter what their size, with their sustainability goals. And we're also really dynamic program in that we're looking for your feedback in terms of what supports you would like with your sustainability goals as well, and what kind of barriers your organization might be facing in terms of enhancing that environmental sustainability as well. So first, I wanted to give an overview of the workshop series. So as you can see with the topics that we have above, we are in part 3 of a 4-part workshop series. We had our water efficiency and our energy management workshops earlier this year. And so the best practices, the resources, and the recordings from those sessions are available on our resource hub. We're also going to be doing our 4th and final workshop at the end of October on employee engagement. So it really kind of ties everything together for many of these different initiatives, particularly energy or water. Many organizations might see those as particularly cost intensive or heavy capital or technology reliant initiatives to undertake to improve their efficiency and save on costs, but none of that would be possible without employee engagement, as you'll hear that theme reiterated through those previous workshops as well as through today, particularly when we get into our case study. And so would encourage people to really think about the power that employee engagement can provide for advancing sustainability goals, and hope to see you at that workshop as well later in October. So the Resource Hub is where we bring it all together. This is a free to access resource hub as part of the Partners in Project Green website. This is where we collect all of our action-oriented videos, tools, and materials, such as checklists or different worksheets that can help your business. Our goal is really to have each organization utilize these resources, make it your own, make it work for you and your organization to allow you to take further steps on really enhancing your environmental performance. So share these with your team and help drive action at your company. So it is also free to access. The only aspect of the website is that there's a sign-in required, but that can be a community access member, which is free, and also provides additional Partners in Project Green benefits as well. So this is all about putting sustainability into practice through the guides, through developing that internal knowledge and capacity, identifying opportunities, cost savings, networking, collaborating. Through our discussion, really encourage folks to identify and listen to others on the call and follow up with them after. There's also opportunities to learn about additional incentives that might be available for different types of sustainability initiatives. And of course, to provide some feedback through our GreenBiz survey as well. So one additional update from me before I get to introducing our speakers is that TRCA's Watershed Planning and Ecosystem Services team is seeking stakeholder input on the watershed planning process for the Humber River watershed. So this is an opportunity for those on the call to also get engaged and provide some feedback. So the Humber River watershed connects numerous businesses and municipalities across the Greater Toronto area, many of which are in Peel and Caledon. There are 2 public engagement webinars coming up on October 12th and 13th. And so the intent of these is to share more information on the watershed planning process, as well as the Humber River watershed plan, the important themes and words that will guide the development of the vision statement, as well as the climate or weather-related changes or impacts that have been experienced or observed in the watershed that will help inform the characterization of climate change impacts in the watershed. So in addition, there's also another survey available until October 31st to gather feedback. And for more information, you can check out that link on the slide that I have here today as well. So at this point now, I would like to introduce our 2 wonderful speakers that we have. So we have Lou Chiappetta, who loves to grow awareness and participation in sustainability and environmental efforts. Outside of her volunteer work with Eco-Caledon, she's helped design and implement resident engagement and environmental education programs for families of social housing across North America. As a member and co-chair of Eco-Caledon, Lou has also helped design and implement community-based projects and events that help protect Caledon's environment. So Lou will be our first speaker today, talking through the importance of waste reduction and best practices for conducting waste audits. And then we have Karen from Husky Technologies. So Karen has worked with Husky for over 20 years in environment, health, and safety. Her main goal is to ensure that her team members work safely and that the organization is successful in their carbon reduction goals. So as part of Karen's presentation and case study, we'll learn more about Husky's Target Zero initiative, which is a 15-year program aimed at achieving carbon neutrality by 2025. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Lou for the first part of the session. So Lou, I believe you should be able to start sharing your screen now.
Awesome, thank you. And, it doesn't matter that we've been using Zoom for almost 2 years. Are we all good?
Perfect.
Awesome. So good afternoon, everybody. And I just wanted to say thank you to Matt from Partners in Project Green and for the town of Caledon for inviting me here today. And also to the participants here taking time out of their lunch period to join us to talk about best practices in waste reduction and diversion. So as Matt mentioned, I am a longtime member and now co-chair of Eco Caledon. So who is Eco Caledon? Eco Caledon is a local nonprofit organization that's been championing climate action in the town of Caledon since 1995. And in conjunction with our partners, we aim to educate Caledon residents and businesses on environmental issues. We empower our community to take individual and collective action. We advocate for better policy and bold climate initiatives, and we partner with others who are working on climate solutions as well. As I mentioned, we were established back in 1995, and the main purpose for our organization was to advise the town of Caledon regarding the proposed landfill site in Caledon. But to date, we've done a lot of work over the last 27, 28 years. We've developed great partnerships within the area, and just to mention a few, we partnered with town council and staff. For example, we've delegated to council in regards to the climate emergency, the Resilient Caledon Climate Change Action Plan. We've been awarded the Town of Caledon's Community Green Fund grant, and we've been over the last couple of years working specifically on sustainable development. We also partner with the region on various projects, including waste reduction workshops and whole school challenges with organizations like the TRCA in regards to their SNAP projects, and again, Partners in Project Green. Caledon schools, other local environmental groups, and a global initiative called Project Drawdown. Now, Matt talked a little bit about employee engagement, but community engagement is a big part of what we do at Eco Caledon. And the reason we've been able to run successful community campaigns over the last 25 years is because we understand that the most meaningful programs combine learning about an issue with the opportunity for residents, or in your case, employees, to be able to take action. So why waste management? Increasingly, greater attention is being paid to waste management, and proactive organizations such as yourselves are seeing the benefits of establishing either a waste reduction strategy or program for their company. One of the top reasons is obviously you'd like to reduce your waste disposal costs. So implementing a waste management strategy directly impacts a company's, no matter its size, bottom line, enabling you to cut your disposal fees. The second reason is building waste literacy. So by understanding the amount and types of waste your organization produces, you are better positioned to find ways to reduce hauling costs and negotiate for waste and recycling services that actually fit your needs. And we're actually going to, like Matt mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about doing a waste audit for your business. The third reason, conserving natural resources. So if your first instinct is to throw something into the garbage bin without reusing or recycling it, you're actually wasting a ton of raw materials. So that whether it be trees, metal, water, and you're also wasting all the energy that is required now to manufacture new products from raw materials. The fourth reason is reducing your negative environmental impact. So there is a large environmental impact when waste is not disposed of properly, including the need for more landfills, air, water, and soil pollution, the production of methane gas and carbon dioxide. So according to Environment Canada, landfill sites account for 38% of Canada's total methane emissions. So waste management and recycling offers a significant potential for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And last but not least, enhancing your organization's or your company's sustainability. So managing waste, water, and energy more efficiently are core components of sustainability. Improving your organization's sustainability can boost your corporate image, attract new customers, and positively engage your employees. So strategies for waste management. Waste reduction starts with every individual, every business taking responsibility for their consumption and their waste. The most effective way to reduce your organization's waste is to generate less, and in the first place. So waste prevention offers the greatest environmental benefits and cost savings. So reduce. Organizations can modify their current practices to reduce the amount of waste generated by changing either the design of a product or how they manufacture or purchase, or how they use materials or products in general. So if you're not in the business of manufacturing, then what is it that you can do within your organization to help reduce other types of waste that you would create? Reusing products. So obviously reuse of packaging prolongs the useful life of some materials, thus delaying the final disposal or recycling of a product. And then recycling, obviously, recycling saves energy. It helps to keep materials out of the landfill and incinerators, and provides materials for the production of new products. When waste can't be prevented, recycling is the next best option. So recycling is more than extending the life of landfills. It's also about making the best use of the resources we have available and conserving those resources. And compost. So maybe your organization has considered composting, but it's pretty much just the recycling of organic materials. So converting organic materials like food waste and yard trimmings into valuable soil that contributes to soil health and also keeps organic waste out of the landfills, thus creating methane gas. When materials cannot be reused or recycled, its energy should be recovered through an energy recovery process. So some of those might include anaerobic digestion or landfill gas recovery, so that we can then generate energy from what's left that needs to go into the landfill. It's a preferred over landfills because it enables waste management companies to recoup and the resource value of our garbage rather than burying it underground. Some important questions that you can ask just to get yourself started on your own waste management or diversion journey is: does your organization primarily make products, consume them, or both? Is there a clear waste management vision and guiding principles? Do you have a higher percentage of waste bins to recycling or compost bins? Sorry, does somebody have a question? Just hearing. No? Okay. Are your bins consistently labeled with correct information? And do your bins have like a standard color to them or shape openings to help your employees with sorting? Now to the fun little bit here. Materials and waste offer an often overlooked opportunity for organizations to improve their
No, Husky doesn't do a good job of recycling.
Sorry?
Sorry, I think some people just had their mics off mute. So just
okay.
a reminder to please mute yourselves for the presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. You have the opportunity to improve your organization's sustainability, to prevent greenhouse gas emissions, and again, to reduce costs for your organization. The first step is to track the amount of waste your organization generates. So for as the old adage goes, you can't manage what you don't measure. Auditing your waste and recycling provides the key foundation for a successful waste reduction program. So here are just five easy steps for how you might be able to conduct a waste audit yourself. Now, if you are a large organization, it could be that the company that you have your waste contract with might actually be willing to offer a waste audit. But if not, and it's something you'd like to undertake on your own, here's just 5 easy ways to do that. So the first step would be just making your plan. I highly recommend selecting a cross-organizational team. Do not just rely on your sustainability team. It's really important to get employees from different departments involved in this particular project. Set a date, coordinate the space, because obviously you're going to need a little bit of space to do this, and then gathering necessary supplies and equipment, that being garbage bags, gloves, maybe some signs and things like that. Conducting your waste audit. So what you ideally want to do is you want to collect the garbage and recycling for 1 full day, and make sure to keep both of those separate, because you'd really like to measure the contamination rates of 1 recycling in the garbage and 2 garbage that's found in the recycling. You're going to sort that garbage by desired categories. Now, I know that I've sent it to Matt, and I believe it's going to end up on the resource hub, but I've kind of prepared a little bit of a chart that organizations can use with the different categories. And I've included some optional categories, especially if your organization does compost, then those extra categories would be helpful to kind of see what types of compost, whether it's like people are throwing out like whole meals, or if they're just getting rid of the, pits or peels and things like that. And it also includes the optional item of plastic water bottles, right? So you can actually measure the amount of plastic water bottles that your employees are generating. And then you're going to weigh and record the results from your waste audit onto the chart. It's already been tabulated. So there's already equations in there to help calculate the totals, and again, the percentage. So that's calculating the diversion rate. So you can calculate the amount of waste your organization was able to divert to recycling and organics, and like I said, calculating the contamination rate. And then you're going to want to communicate those results and set company goals. So you're obviously going to inform your employees of your findings and set new diversion goals, and then implement these goals. So, your goals might be around improving education, increasing the number of sorting bins, maybe employing another project like TerraCycle. If you've never heard of TerraCycle, it's a company that has 0 waste bins for items that don't necessarily fall into the recycling, the regional or the private waste management companies recycling. And then, but make sure that however you set your goals, make sure to include some quantitative goals so that you can actually measure whether or not you guys are doing a better job of diverting waste from landfill. And then you may choose to actually repeat the whole process after some time has passed. So after you've set your goals and you've educated your employees, you may choose to do the waste audit all over again to see if there actually has been any improvement. Sorry. Oh. So how to scale that work? So there are things that we can do to manage waste effectively and reduce the amount of general waste that we throw out each year, regardless of the size of your business. The first one is building waste literacy and scaling up employment engagement. So educating your staff to help lower your waste, because the amount of damage that excess waste can cause both to the environment and to your bottom line, it really makes sense to reduce your environmental impact. And one way you can do that is by introducing policies into the workplace, educating your staff, and there are so many different ways to do that. And just as a member of Eco Caledon, if there are organizations in the Caledon area that would like some, organization like ours to come out and do a little bit of a lunch and learn session regarding waste habits, we would be happy to do that. And I'll have my contact information at the end. Make it easy for your staff to recycle. So make sure there's proper signage or photos and reminders, and making sure that you have even an equal number of recycling bins to garbage bins, or even maybe more recycling bins than garbage bins. setting short-term and long-term goals, and then promoting those goals to your employees. Engaging your employees, seeking suggestions and feedback, and then recognizing good behavioral changes in your workplace. And I highly recommend keeping it fun. So maybe it's about creating a challenge amongst departments, or making it a challenge in general to help reduce your waste. Keeping it fun always helps bring up that employee buy-in and engagement. Here are just a few different resources that you can look into if you are looking into improving waste management strategies in your organization. So Waste Reduction Week is coming up at the end of October, and there are some great resources on the actual website, and there are specialized days. And if it's something that you'd be interested in, you could host events on those specific days. There's the Recycling Council of Ontario, Circular Economy, and as I mentioned before, TerraCycle, if you're looking to find ways to recycle products that normally wouldn't go into the recycling stream. And then last but not least, how to stay in touch with Eco-Caledon. We've got our email address on there. We've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But Matt, please feel free to share my email address with anybody who's here today if they have any specific questions as well. And that's it for me.
Sounds great. No, will do. And I believe you had a quick poll, right? Around.
Oh my gosh, yes, I did have a quick poll. See how quickly I forget?
I can launch that now.
Yeah,
and
please.
just would encourage everyone to fill it out. So let me know if this does show up on everyone's screen. Question is, what support or supports would help you reach your waste reduction goals? So is it showing up yet?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, so would encourage those on the call, please vote, have your say. It's really helpful to us and to Lou as well, just to get a better understanding of where the needs are and what could be helpful in this regard too. All right, so I will end the poll. Thank you for participating. I'll share the results as well, just so that we can see. So it's a pretty healthy spread, with the majority really looking at that help around the waste audit. So I know that there was a lot of great guidance provided through this session today, and I think that the worksheet that you've provided and that will be available through the resource hub will really help people quantify that. And yeah, I think in addition, an important note around like having the space and the materials is collecting scales, because it's really just about weighing the different categories of waste within the streams that so you can better track where it's actually going and what your most significant waste is. So some organizations might be surprised to find that there's quite a lot of organics ending up in their recycling for whatever reason, or that their largest waste stream might actually be plastic water bottles, which might motivate them to consider looking at water fountains instead of having water bottles at the office as well. So by understanding that and building on Lou's point around can't manage what you don't measure, the sort of answers or potential solutions will very much show themselves in that way as well. So thank you, Lou. Thank you for that presentation. Would encourage those on the call to also start thinking about questions that they might have around waste reduction and the waste audit process. I'm gonna just share my screen now again, and we're gonna flip it over to Karen to talk about a bit of a case study from Husky Technologies. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Now it's showing up. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Lou. First off, thanks, Matt, for inviting Husky to speak today at your workshop. We're very excited to be here. For those of you who do not know who Husky is, I see there's a few people from Husky, but for the other people on the call, just a quick overview, who we are. Husky Technologies is the largest brand name supplier of injection molding equipment and services to the plastic industry. We have about 4,300 team members globally, and we operate in over 140 countries around the globe. Next slide, Matt. So our purpose at Husky is enabling healthy and sustainable livelihoods globally. Husky's technology supports the circular economy and helps deliver the essential needs to global communities. Okay. Great. So these are the different waste streams that we have here on the campus. We have 3 different areas in which waste is actually produced. One is the shop floor, the second is the office, and the third is the cafeteria. We do have sorting areas throughout our campus, and we have photos of what goes where. So it helps to remind team members, you know, to put your compost in the compost, not in the garbage. So if you just look at the different areas here, pretty much everything you see here is recyclable. And anything, even office furniture, we actually donate it to Caledon Community Services, which is located here in town. Our e-waste goes to a local hauler. Steel, plastics, resins, you name it, everything is recyclable. And we educate team members on what to recycle throughout the year. As Lou mentioned earlier, Waste Reduction Week is coming up at the end of the month. So that will be another great campaign just to remind team members of how to recycle here at the workplace as well as home. Waste diversion. So this is something that we are very proud of. Our campus here on, the Bolton campus, we have a waste diversion rate of 94%, and globally it's 87%. Our goal is by 2025 to have a waste diversion rate of 90% globally. And we do this through our innovation, operations, products and services, and partnerships and collaborations, which I'll discuss throughout the presentation. Next slide, Matt. Products and services. So Husky builds machines that are compatible with Infinity Recyclable PET, which encourages customers to reduce their virgin material consumption. Husky machines can run 100% rPET throughout their lifetime, so we can eliminate the end-of-life questions that all customers face when using other polymers. Unlike other competitors, Husky implements extensive repair, refurbishment, and encore programs to maximize and extend the lifespans of its products. When these products are eventually retired, customers can recycle a large majority of the parts and utilize these components in other machines. Next slide. So let's move on to programs that help promote waste diversion. The big one is Target Zero. On Earth Day back in 2009, Husky launched its Target Zero initiative. The goal of the program is to achieve carbon neutrality by 2025. We track our resources such as energy, waste, and water to improve and progress towards this goal. Husky's strategy to achieve carbon neutrality focuses on the implementation of key energy reducing projects at our facilities around the globe. In addition to the purchase of carbon offsets, Husky's major manufacturing facilities calculate their carbon footprint on an annual basis. A greenhouse gas emissions assessment quantifies the total greenhouse gases produced directly and indirectly from a business or an organization's activities. Also known as a carbon footprint, it is an essential tool which provides us with a basis for understanding and managing our climate change impacts. Next slide. So programs to promote waste diversion. We have a great program called Green Shares. Green Shares is an incentive program that encourages all Husky team members to be proactive in the responsible use and protection of natural resources. Through the Green Share program, team members receive points for behaving in an environmentally responsible way. Some examples of the way you could earn points is if you carpool or you ride your bike or you walk to work. If you purchase environmentally friendly cleaning products, you could get points. Also recycling and composting at home, you receive points. And there's a number of different activities. At the end of the Green Shares cycle, names are put into a draw where you can win amazing prizes. This picture here is of Tanya. She's our sales and analysis here on the Bolton campus. She won the silver prize back in 2017, I believe, for $2,500, which she used to build this coupe. And I believe Tanya's on the call too today, which is exciting. Next slide. Another program that we participate in to support waste diversion is Operation Clean Sweep. Operation Clean Sweep is an international campaign which is designed to prevent plastic litter from entering marine environments. Zero plastic resin loss is a priority for the plastics industry and is a critical issue for the environment, as we all know. So spilled pellets, flakes, and powder can make their ways into the local waterways. And this isn't just an eyesore and a litter issue. Pellets, flakes, and powder can be mistaken for food by birds and marine animals, which could cause them harm. So Husky, what we did was, we are part of this program, and we focus on limiting resin spills at our manufacturing facilities. We complete regular audits and implement improvements proactively. Next slide. Another program is our hazardous waste program. So Husky's hazardous waste procedure guides team members on the proper steps to take when working around the disposal of hazardous waste. We require hazardous waste training for all applicable team members that are handling waste, and also our emergency response team, which is right here on site. Our security department is also well trained on it. We also comply with the UN globally harmonized system, which is a standard classification system that enables hazardous materials. And we ensure that everything is labeled properly. And we also do have a list of banned substances that are not allowed on our campus to protect our employees. Next slide. This is another initiative that we have in place. It's called the Waste Watch, and it's actually something that's promoted through our partnership with Sodexo. Sodexo is the company that we have on site. They're actually a part of the Husky family. We've had them with Husky for over 25 years. And they are the ones, they're our cafeteria vendors. So we have 4 cafeterias on our campus. And they implemented the Waste Watch program, which aims to contribute towards addressing world hunger and climate change by reducing the amount of food that goes to waste in the cafeterias. And also another initiative to reduce food waste in all cafeterias. Eggshells as well as coffee grinds are available for composting, as well as kitchen waste, which includes vegetables and fruits to use as animal feed. And this is a program that I actually participate in because I have a chicken coop myself at home. So on a daily basis, I take all the kitchen waste that's left from our cafeteria, and I take it home and I feed it to my chickens. And they're super excited to see me come down the hill with that big bucket. Okay, next. Okay, so audits, something that Lou was talking about earlier. So we do conduct quarterly audits actually on our campus. So we do our EH&S team, we go out and we have our checklist, and we pretty much do a dumpster dive, go through everything to make sure everything is being recycled properly. And then we take our feedback to management with some corrective actions, and we do follow through to ensure that, you know, the actions are being dealt with, as well as we do third-party audits from time to time. Another thing we do is our EH&S team, we do go out and audit our haulers. So those are the companies that actually come out and take our waste and our recycling. So companies like Safety-Kleen, which takes our hazardous waste, we do go out and ensure that they are indeed doing cradle to grave. Last but not least, measuring success. So as I mentioned earlier, Husky conducts an annual greenhouse gas assessment using a third-party auditor called Natural Capital Partners. And we do this because we want to see what our carbon footprint is as a whole globally. And by doing so, we could work together to reduce our carbon footprint. And if you look over to the right, you'll see all of our waste and how it's broken down. That's it. Matt?
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. That was a really informative overview of the many different initiatives that Husky has on the go related to waste. And I think it's really interesting, especially with Lou's presentation before, kind of seeing where some of those foundational elements of waste reduction best practices, such as the audit and measuring and engaging employees and the different directions that you can ultimately take them as well. So now as we move into our Q&A session, I want to encourage folks on the line, if you have any questions for our speakers, please do enter them in through our chat. I have an initial question for Karen to get the ball rolling, just around, I guess, speaking more to some of the early days. We know we have a mix of different businesses on this call today, and that will be viewing the recordings in the future. Some of them are much smaller and maybe have not yet taken their first step on reducing their wastes and implementing some of those best practices as well. So I'd like to ask about some of the early days with some of these initiatives at Husky. If you have any insights from that, what were some of the initial first steps that you guys took, and maybe if you could speak to some of the challenges with gaining some of that momentum to help kind of lead to where you guys are now.
Sure. So in the early days, I guess, as Lou had mentioned earlier, you have to do audits. You have to figure out where your baseline is. Just like our greenhouse gas assessment, we did our first greenhouse gas assessment back in 2003, I believe it was. So we had a baseline. So we had an understanding of where we need to improve. And then also you have to look at benchmarking different companies as to what are they doing, right? And the community itself. Look at the different companies around you. For example, carpooling, right? So that's one of the biggest challenges we have in Bolton, right? There's no public transit. So we have to work together with the town of Caledon to try to figure out how to encourage the buses coming through, the GO stations and so forth. And from my understanding is that in 2025, we're gonna have a GO bus station. It's coming up on King and Humber Station. So it's aligning with different communities as well as the towns and so forth to figure out how to improve.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess related to waste then, and getting employees on board for the different initiatives and that engagement piece, what were some of the, I guess, the common misunderstandings, or what did you find in terms of like a lesson learned that really helped with getting employees on side for some of the waste reduction best practices? It's great to see the Green Shares program and how effective that's been. Would you be able to speak to that a bit more from Husky's perspective as well, Karen? Oh, she may have lost connection. No worries. I have a couple questions to direct your way, Lou, as well. And also just want to encourage folks on the line, if you do have questions about maybe challenges that you're experiencing at your organization with waste reduction, please, great opportunity to discuss, and really want to encourage folks to enter in questions and yeah, take advantage of our speakers' time and expertise today as well. So Lou, from your perspective at Eco Caledon, with the listeners on today ranging from different sizes and different sectors, what in your opinion would be some of the easiest first steps that many listeners of today's workshop can start with even today to improve their waste management?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, is the waste management company that you've hired, do they have recycling and compost programs, and to explore those options with them. But then just making sure that there is proper signage. I mean, a lot of times there's just misunderstanding because there is no consistency amongst municipalities, you know, in regards to what can be recycled, right? So what we might be able to recycle here in the region of Peel might be different from where you live in the city of Vaughan. So making sure that there is proper signage on your bins so that your employees know what can be recycled in your office. And even, like, you know, color coding, or just making sure, like I had mentioned before, that there are an equal number of recycling or more recycling bins to garbage bins. I think those are probably the easiest steps that businesses can take to help improve waste diversion and help improve contamination as well.
Right. Okay. No, that's great. And for smaller businesses in particular, what recommendations might you have for organizations that maybe they lease an office space, or they're part of a plaza where they don't necessarily know maybe where their waste is going fully. Any recommendations on that front around how they might begin to get a better understanding or address some challenges on that end?
Yeah, okay, so this is one that I'm not going to recommend to people, but I did hear this morning at a Chamber of Commerce event where some businesses actually, they take, at the end of the week, employees take home a bag of recycling to put into their own home carts because there is no recycling at their particular office. So I'm not going to recommend that because I don't want to put that burden on any of the employees. But if you look at the schools, right? Schools promote boomerang lunches or litterless lunches. So even just doing things like that, where you ask your employees to take home the garbage in their lunch bag, can help to not create that waste in the office that now is going to end up in the landfill because you have no control over waste diversion, because again, like Matt said, like you're renting the space or you're part of a larger office complex. Another thing a small business might be able to do is looking into that TerraCycle. So yes, you do pay for the recycling of the product, but something like snack packaging or kitchen, they have boxes on snack packaging, kitchen waste, coffee pods, things like that, where you pay up front for the box and the recycling, but then you're now diverting that waste from the landfill. Even as a parent, I have a lot of snack packaging that comes home, and I've opted to purchase one of these zero waste boxes for my home, so that now I know at least that snack packaging isn't ending up at the landfill, which is where it would end up even in a municipality, just because snack packaging is too complex to just go into a regular recycling stream.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, and I guess creativity is important for many of us. I think just making the connection of where the waste goes and what waste we're kind of bringing to the picture ourselves or producing ourselves can really highlight where there are opportunities and just taking that ownership of that as well. So I think Karen, I think we have Karen back now. There might have just been just a network issue. And so Karen, if you have audio, and I'd just like to follow up on that question just around some of the key sort of lessons learned around the great employee engagement that you guys had, and wondering if you could sort of speak to that in the context of Green Shares and the cafeteria program you have as well.
Sure, sorry about that. My call for some reason dropped. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. So some of the key lessons that we learned, that's a good question. Well, just I guess even promoting things in general, like Green Shares. So we noticed that there was a decline of participation in the program. So one of the things that we started doing is engaging team members, asking them questions on what we need to do to encourage more involvement. And we made changes to the different activities that can be added to the form itself, because we need to get people from all around the globe to participate, right? So that was one of the things we looked at as well. Also, the different type of events that we do on campus ourselves, sorry. That's another thing that we're looking to change. So like I mentioned, we're doing Waste Reduction Week at the end of this month. That's one of the things that we're looking at doing, is trying to tie in Green Shares to the program to see if we could get more participation that way.
Okay. No, that's great. And that employee engagement piece is so crucial, as has come up throughout the presentation as well. And just really want to encourage anyone on the call, if you have any questions, would love to just see some of those trickle in as well. And feel free to come off mute if you do have a question, or if you have a comment, or want to discuss any challenge that your organization might be facing around waste as well. We'd definitely love to hear from you on that. So I'll give that a bit more time, and then can keep it rolling. I know from Partners in Project Green perspective, we do have some waste engagement programs as well, where we work with a number of different organizations across the Greater Toronto area on waste reduction, and sort of picking up on some of the themes that you mentioned, Lou, early on around reuse. And so we have a material exchange program where we're really trying to work with businesses that have maybe materials that they no longer have a use for, but finding a second home to really divert that from landfills. So that's one program that we have here. There's other programs around where it is really about identifying where materials can have a second life, and thinking about other potential uses rather than sort of defaulting to curbside, landfill, or waste hauler. And on that note around reuse, Lou or Karen, curious if you have any interesting examples or creative examples from your experience around folks kind of finding a way to utilize material more efficiently and reuse it in different ways. I think packaging was one that came up through the presentation, but curious if there's other ones as well.
I mean, because we are not an organization that has like an office space or anything like that, I may not have like examples like that, but Eco-Caledon itself, right, we promote upcycling, right? So even taking some of those materials and turning them into something new. Or another initiative that we've gotten very involved in is the concept of repairing, right? So again, that kind of aligns with the reuse, because rather than, again, throwing something out just because a little piece of it is broken or there's a hem undone or something, or maybe the electronics not working, but you know, we're not 100% sure where to bring it to fix it. It ends up in the landfill. We're promoting this concept of repair, where fixers can come and volunteer their time and help residents to repair items that would normally end up in the landfill. And if that's something of interest to organizations, I'm not sure if they, you know, wanted to do some sort of repair type of event or something like that.
No, that's a great point, and a great question, and curious if anyone has thoughts on that from the audience today as well, in terms of items that maybe they've been looking to reuse, but for whatever reason maybe felt that they couldn't, or haven't considered those opportunities yet. Any thought? No, it's so yeah, we'll continue to encourage folks to chime in through the chat. If they have questions, please do enter them in, or feel free to come off mute if you have questions as well. But another important piece around waste reduction that was mentioned in both presentations today was around sort of that prevention aspect of things. And so I wanted to kind of pick up on potential procurement strategies, and maybe Lou kind of speaking to that sort of smaller business perspective, whereas Karen, you can speak to a larger organization that does have maybe quite a different procurement system in place. But wondering how, what some best practices some businesses could take away to maybe start thinking about that a little bit differently around aspects of circularity, or just the materials that they're procuring and what their life cycles might be. So I'll direct that maybe first to you, Karen, if you want to speak to Husky's perspective on procurement, and if there's sort of best practices that you guys have in place for just ensuring that some of the waste is prevented, I guess, on that front end. Hopefully no more technical difficulties, but
Either that or she doesn't realize she's on mute, which I do on a regular basis.
audio. Okay. No worries. And I guess Lou, from a small business perspective, or suggestions from maybe some research at Eco-Caledon, or just other engagements that you've had with businesses, or even from, I guess, kind of that homeowner perspective, because I know an important part of just consistent and prolonged engagement on waste reduction is kind of taking the best practices home as well, and how people can think about that as a homeowner or a resident wherever they live, and kind of showing up to work with the same kind of mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a consumer, right, I'm very conscientious of the businesses that I support, and knowing that a business is doing its part to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions or to reduce its waste. Those are obviously businesses that I would ideally like to support. So obviously that's an important piece for me. But even advocating, right? So I know we often hear about Amazon's packaging, where there's excessive amounts of packaging. So advocating to the businesses or organizations that you support through purchasing, letting them know that that's, you would like to see better packaging techniques and materials being used. And I'm seeing it a lot more now too, just through COVID with home deliveries. That some businesses have really taken an initiative to improve the packaging that they use.
Right. No, great point as well. And any questions from our audience members today on waste, or any comments? Please feel free. We still have some time, and would really like to encourage you to bring forward thoughts, or have a bit of a discussion around best practices that you can take home and implement. And I guess I'm curious, for those in our audience, what are some of the challenges? Does anyone want to speak to challenges that they might be having within their workplace, whether it is capacity related, or just knowledge and awareness around how waste is managed at their facility?
I have something to add. One of the challenges, so I work with a healthcare center that has 3 hospitals included. And one of the challenges for us, we have done our waste audits already for all 3 sites. But one of the challenges that we have is, how do we get a collective, organization-wide system so that all our waste bins are somewhat the same, so that we get the staff and the visitors on that same level, and the education piece is there, so it's not confusing for them. How do we get that? So that's a little bit of a challenge for us, because there are so many different areas. It has to be customized per department, but it also has to be unified so that it's not confusing for the users. So that's one of our major challenges.
That's a great question, and thank you for sharing that, Sharon. And that really just speak to, I guess, the importance of that kind of communication piece, which you mentioned in your presentation as well, Lou. And I'm curious, initial perspectives, and hopefully we can hear from Karen as well, from Husky's global perspective, and sort of keeping things consistent across different countries and different regions as well.
Yeah, from my perspective, if your waste is being picked up by a private waste management company, or is it the same waste management company that's managing all 3, so that you can then again streamline, so there isn't that confusion about what goes into what bin. Again, as a medical office, you might want to consider looking into some of those TerraCycle programs, because there are opportunities for recycling medical grade waste that wouldn't necessarily be able to go into any other recycling stream. So you may be able to help create some diversion that way as well. Yeah, that's a little bit of a tough one.
Yeah,
it is a challenge.
Yeah, so we do have the same waste management company for all 3 sites, and we are not with TerraCycle, but another third-party waste collector. We have some for like PPE, but a challenge with that is the cost associated with those extra collections. So many hurdles.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I mean, I don't own a waste management company, but I mean, I think we need to find ways to incentivize like the the good behavior, like the fact that organizations and companies want to recycle and compost, and and find ways to incentivize that so that those companies will continue to do so and reduce the actual amount of garbage.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know Karen is still having audio issues, but she did mention that she's happy to send over some of the info around how they approach challenges that might be considered similar from Husky's perspective as well. So I'd be happy to share that with you, Sharon, and with the folks on the call in terms of follow-up materials and resources on the hub as well.
That'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and any questions that we don't get a chance to answer, we'll very much do the same, where we'll get some insights from our speakers after the call. So if there's anything that is kind of pressing or that we do run out of time for, then we can ensure that you do get the answers, and would also encourage folks to continue to stay in touch with GreenBiz and let us know what's the most pressing sustainability challenge for you, and what aspect you're looking for guidance or support on as well.
Sorry, Matt, I just want to mention too, like when I talk about waste audits, I know obviously it's a time commitment and a commitment of your staff. So if it's a smaller business or organization and you wanted to just do an overview, like you could easily do like a mini audit where you would just go and evaluate like random garbage and recycling bins within the office, and just even making note of, if there's like, visually, if there's how many pieces of contamination do you notice? So that's just one way to deal with the challenge of maybe staffing and time, if anybody is experiencing that.
It's a great point as well. Because yeah, capacity is definitely a consideration for many organizations, and it might be challenging to carve out the time for that, but it is important. And another aspect that is important about waste audits is ensuring that the sample is kind of representative, because that can allow you to better make estimates around what that looks like on a more annual or even monthly basis as well.
Mm-hmm.
Any final questions? Happy to keep it open for a few more questions, and then know folks might have other things coming up as well, and then can go over a couple closing remarks. So any final questions from the group? All right, well, I will keep things rolling. And if any questions do come in after the session, please do reach out, as we're always looking to engage with businesses, particularly businesses across the Caledon area as part of the GreenBiz Caledon program, really trying to understand what we can do to continue supporting you on your sustainability goals. And so on that note, wanted to once again promote our GreenBiz survey. So it's only a few minutes to complete, and is really important because it provides us with a lot of great insights into what some of the challenges are, what some of the barriers are for sustainability, cost being a big one, as came up in Sharon's point, but also especially for smaller organizations, just that time, capacity, or expertise, maybe not necessarily knowing the best way to get started. And so that's really what we're hoping to do with GreenBiz. We're hoping that for those on the call, some of those initial steps around some of the questions that Lou had shared, as well as some of the aspects of the process for starting a waste audit can be that starting off point, and at least get those discussions going, because it's a bit of a journey. And I know Husky will be able to share a little bit more on that in terms of where things started to where things have come now, and seeing the different directions in the ways that they've focused in on different waste streams within their facilities is really quite impressive, and a great model for other organizations as well. So with the GreenBiz survey, survey participants that are Caledon based will be entered into our grand prize draw. So it's quite a significant grand prize, and really that will involve some one-on-one support from partners in Project Green. As mentioned earlier in the session, we provide businesses across the Greater Toronto Area and TRCA watershed with sustainability support through a number of advanced programs, looking at things like energy performance, waste reduction and diversion, water stewardship, and employee engagement as well. So really would encourage people to follow that link. You can find it on the GreenBiz page on our website as well. Take a couple minutes and provide some feedback, as that would be really helpful and allow us to better serve the community as well. So at this point, we'll conclude our session today, and would like to once again thank Lou and Karen for the very informative presentations that were provided. Once again, the materials and the videos will be available on the GreenBiz Caledon Resource Hub, including the slides from today's presentation and any resources to support the slides. So I know that Lou has mentioned a worksheet that will help businesses with conducting waste audits internally, and really would encourage folks to take advantage of that, make them your own, communicate them throughout your organization as well. So thank you everyone for your time today, and look forward to seeing you at the next session in October.